Hey guys, so now we're going to go ahead and update the code for our players so that we're able to actually animate them. So the first thing is we want to go ahead and create the animation code for our players to move. So normally what a lot of code would work, the way that the code will work is you'll actually be using the left and arrow keys in order to move. That makes it just a little bit difficult to actually do this. So instead what we're going to do is the player is always going to be constantly walking um, because the player is always going to be constantly moving left and right and they're never going to stop. So that's kind of how we're going to actually do this. So we actually wanted to start walking when we're able to actually see the player. So when we have this show here, so what we're going to do is underneath the show, we're going to go into the yellow events tab. We're going to broadcast and we're going to type in a new message and call it move. Once you've done that, we're going to move. So again, this is right here and this big block of code for our player. Once we're done, we're going to move to the side and we're going to do when I receive move. Underneath this, we're going to go into control and add a forever. We're going to go into looks. We're going to add a switch costume to costume 1. And then we're going to go ahead and go into control, add a weight 0.5. And now we're just going to duplicate this, move it into the bottom, switch it to costume 2. I'm going to continue this process until I'm done creating the animation. So I have up to 7 costumes, so I need to continue until I do all 7 of them. So the reason why we need to do it this way is because if you remember, the very bottom of our costume is our losing, and when you use next costume, you can't tell it what costume not to use and what costume it can use. So that's why we have to do it this way. So here I have my whole movement, and I have it from costume 1 all the way to costume 7, which are all my costumes. Next, what we're actually going to do is, underneath the show again, we're going to go into looks, and we're going to add a switch costume to costume 1. This is to make sure that we're always starting with the correct costume before we start the animation to actually move. And if you also want to, we can even move this around to put it in the bottom, so we can start the movement a little bit later on. It's kind of all up to you guys how you guys want to do that, but at the very bottom here, the broadcast game over and weight above it, we're going to go ahead and switch costume to costume lose. So now when we click on our green flag and we play, you can see that our player is moving, and it looks like it's moving as we're moving as well. Okay, and then if it touches the edge, it loses. Okay, so that works perfectly. Now, if you guys want to play around with maybe trying to see how it would look like with the right and left arrow tool, what you can do is, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to remove the move broadcast from here. And instead, I'm going to duplicate it and add 2 of them, one here and one here. So now let's stop and test this out to see how that would look. So I'm not moving. And you can see how hard it is. I'm moving right now, but the broadcast move is not working. So that's why we're doing it that way. Or it's a little bit delayed as well. So that's why it kind of works exactly where we put it. It's not impossible to do it that way. It just requires a different set of code. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this back to where I want it. Test it out, make sure it's working, and there we go. Awesome, guys. So with this, that's going to be the end of week 2. For week 3, we'll be later on working. We will be doing a couple of buttons and starting to create the actual hazards that we're going to have.